A hang glider was stuck in a tree and had just called for rescue when suddenly he spotted something nearby that terrified him. Inside a thick cocoon lay a wrapped corpse. Even the medical examiner was shocked by such a bizarre case. The male detective believed the body in the cocoon was the Mothman, as the Mothman supposedly has blood-red eyes. But the female medical examiner didn't believe such a creature existed. The medical examiner quickly examined the body in the cocoon. Through DNA comparison, they identified the deceased as James Sutton, a well-known adventurer. The larvae were approximately 5 days old, indicating the victim had died about a week earlier. However, since the larvae covered the entire body, no one was willing to clean them off. Someone then used crows to eliminate the insects, which surprisingly worked quickly. Detective Old Boo located the victim's wife and asked about any unusual behavior before his death. The wife said her husband had recently brought home some very old artifacts. Strangely, his face showed both excitement and fear regarding these objects. The detectives soon arrived at the location. Upon opening the door, they found many ancient antiques and some human remains with significant collectible value. They suspected someone was trafficking these items. They also discovered that the last person to see the victim alive was his publisher. The two immediately located the publisher to question him. The publisher said the victim had told him a month earlier about a major discovery, but hadn't specified what it was. However, the victim had seemed very excited at the time. Meanwhile, Hawkins found a whip in the warehouse. The victim's skin also showed evidence of whipping. Even more surprising was that the victim had apparently been whipped hundreds of times yet miraculously survived. The detectives questioned the wife again about this. She explained that her father had disapproved of her marrying outside the family and had whipped the victim hundreds of times. Unexpectedly, the couple had eloped. Although they'd found the source of the whip marks, the trail went cold. Soon, the medical examiner discovered a new clue, an indentation on the victim's shoulder blade. He theorized that when facing the attacker, the victim had raised his arm in a defensive posture while the killer stabbed him with a sharp weapon, then drove it downward into the armpit, severing the axillary artery. With each heartbeat, 100 milliliters of blood would gush out. The victim would lose consciousness in under 30 seconds and die within a minute. The true cause of death was massive hemorrhaging. Now they needed to determine what weapon the killer had used. Finally, Hawkins examined the wound markings under a microscope and detected polyurethane carbamate. The primary component of books is polyurethane carbamate. But how could a book possibly kill someone? The female detective suddenly seemed to know who the killer was. She and the male detective returned to the publisher's home. She first confirmed her suspicions by examining the books, then used equipment to detect bloodstains on the floor. She immediately demanded to know why there were bloodstains. The publisher lied, claiming he'd accidentally injured his foot, causing the bloodstains on the floor. Seeing the publisher refuse to confess, the female detective stated that DNA testing of the bloodstains would reveal whether they belonged to the victim. Faced with irrefutable evidence, the woman finally told the truth. The publisher, driven by greed, had felt the victim had betrayed him and showed no remorse for his actions. He had not only taken a life, but completely destroyed a happy family. The publisher had also ruined his own life.